What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do another video for you guys. Basically, for people who aren't following me or people just starting in the hobby, I wanted to do a simple video since I have a tank build coming up on how to set up a saltwater aquarium and what you basically need to get started. It's pretty simple for anybody that's wanting to get into the hobby. I always compare it to planted aquariums. If you've done planted aquariums, I think the maintenance is almost the same, simply because you have to trim all the plants, do your water changes. On reef tank, that's mainly, you don't have to trim plants, but you might have to trim corals occasionally. But water changes is a big importance with saltwater aquariums as it is with planted aquariums, so you don't have algae. The main equipment you basically need to get started is, of course, your tank and your stand, but to have a protein skimmer, that's a really good quality I always suggest because it's your main filtration. You need to have some kind of circulation power head pumps to get the water movement for the coral, and that's really basically it, in my opinion, to get started. When you first start with your saltwater tank, you don't need the lights right off the back while it's cycling. You can get those later on. I always suggest get good lighting if you're getting coral, so that's going to be an added expense there that you always need to be prepared for. I recommend halides, T5s, LEDs. I like them all. I've used them all. Currently on all my tanks I use LEDs and I love them, but like I said, there's not a light fixture out there with whatever it is that I don't not like. On my frag tank I'll start setting up is actually going to be T5s, but on all my tanks I do run LEDs currently and I do love them. For skimmers, I recommend protein skimmers. For reef octopus or vertex, they're all good. That's just your main thing you want to focus on, is having a really good skimmer to have, especially if you have a good bioload. When you first start a saltwater aquarium, you can either use all dry rock with dry sand. It doesn't matter, it just takes longer for your tank to cycle. I usually recommend using live rock and dry sand to get your cycle going. It'll take you probably a couple weeks up to a couple months depending on how safe you want to introduce your stuff. And you start with maybe like a couple fish after your ammonia nitrates all read 0 to get your bioload started. Some people do dry rock with live sand. That works. I'm not a big fan of it, but it does work. I mean, in my next tank, I probably will be using all the live rock that's currently in here with a mixture of dry sand and live sand. The reason some people use all dry materials is there's lots of critters, which I've actually just discovered in the seahorse tank just a few hours ago, is I have a mantis shrimp in there that's been killing random fish. But don't worry, lots of that stuff usually does not come in your live rock or even your live sand. Usually it's all goods, so I wouldn't be too worried about it if you're just getting the hobby. Biggest thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Everybody has their struggles with saltwater aquariums, and don't get discouraged if one little thing happens, because it will happen to the best of us. With your aquarium, you need some good water flow, basically to make sure there's no dead spots in your aquarium, so your coral will survive and you won't have dead pockets, which can cause gases, which isn't good for your reef tank. The biggest thing, if you want to test if you have good circulation and your dead spots after you build your rock work, is you're going to have additives with your coral, which is calcium alkalinity. Of course, mostly in the two-part systems, alkalinity does add a white cloud, which kind of allows you to see where all your circulation is. It's a great way to look at it. Another thing you can do hang on the back, that's fine. That's where I started. I do recommend, like everybody else in the hobby probably will, is always go with the sump. Spend the money up front. Hey guys, sorry I couldn't put it all in that first video. I had to end it for a second. But anyways, what I was talking about is spending money up front to get the sump. The sump is always good where you can put all your equipment, have bigger skimmers for all your needs, but like I said, if you do have all hanging on the back, it will work fine just as well. Another thing with coral reefs, refugiums. Lots of people have refugiums. I'm personally a big fan of it. I believe running your refugium light 24/7 helps counteract the pH and alkalinity swing, so you don't have any problems long term with it. I'll show you real quick kind of this what I have going on down on my tank. Now in this hobby, there's usually lots of things you can make your life easier, which you'll see. Don't freak out with all these wires and trollers and all that stuff. You know, this is long term. When you start getting into the hobby, you realize, hey, maybe I want this to make my life easier. But there on the left that you see this cup right here, this is my skimmer, and this is actually my dosing pump from GHL, which doses my magnesium, my alkalinity, and my calcium. It makes my life easy, so I don't have to worry about, hey, did I forget the dose today, and so on. Another thing that usually was my first purchase and is my favorite purchase was my auto top-off. With saltwater tanks, you're going to have evaporation, which will leave salt behind and will make your salt and salinity go up and down, which isn't always good for your coral or your fish. So you'll be having to usually add a cup of water, which is DI water, RODI water, every day to your saltwater aquarium to counteract this evaporation. I have auto top off, which is actually that green light, which is straight up there to tune the osmolator. With that, I have a auto top off whole tank right there full of fresh water, which doses automatically for me. When it goes below, that black sensor straight down there with the float switch. All this other equipment in there is a biopellet reactor, which is right there, which is this thing right here. That helps keep my my nitrates and my phosphates down to 0. And then, as you see back there with the light, that is actually my refugium with a mangrove growing out the top of it. When you get into the hobby of reef, you'll start seeing different additives like amino acids you might want to add to your tank just to make it get that much more advanced and colorful and grow more. Not needed at all to have a very successful reef tank. It's just what some fish geeks will be like, wanting just to get that much more out of their reef. On my tank, I have the current Radion Pros on there. I have no complaints for them. They were on this tank since day one, and all these corals, if you look at my past videos, started pretty small and they have just flourished. I had no complaints with the lights at all, and I've done lots of LEDs out there. Sorry, I'm losing breath for a second. Heater is usually highly recommended for a reef tank, but like I said, depends if your temperature in your house is cold. I like to run my tank personally at 80 degrees. I think it's better for the coral and the fish. Some people will say 75 to 80 is fine, which it is. What else is there for you guys to get started? I think I pretty much covered it, and my pumps are currently the MP10, the MP10s on both sides of the tank, along with the return pump, which gives me my flow. But feel free to ask any questions, guys. I hope I can help y'all get started in this hobby. I'm here full of information, so feel free to ask any questions. I'm at your disposal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you have a very successful reef tank. Thank you very much, guys. See you.